Hello there. I am John Harder, and this is my first episode of The Worth of Things. That's what I called it, The Worth of Things. Um, the reason I want to do this, to talk about these things, is because of I think that too often we don't do enough thinking about why things cost what they do, or what could be the motivation behind the prices, behind the way things are priced. And in some cases, it makes a guy wonder why those things are priced like that. So now the first thing that I want to talk about a little bit here is I'd like to, uh, a few years ago, I was in Alberta, and I was a little ways from any town. Like, this can actually happen out west. It's actually possible to be quite a distance from the nearest town. It wasn't like that I was an hour away or anything like that. I think the nearest town was about maybe a half hour's drive, something like that. I would say about a half hour. I don't know exactly though. And so I pulled in at a fuel station, just a small place there. Like, don't remember the name of it. It would be nice if I had, but I didn't. I don't remember the name of this little, like one of these little corner, just a little corner store with a restaurant, not a restaurant, a gas station, and a little convenience store with a few things in it. And I needed some windshield washer, and I come in and looked around, and for some windshield washer, and sure enough, there's there's a, I think it was a stack of, of boxes full of jugs, kind of thing. And I went over to grab a jug, and I noticed the price on it is $15. And I asked him if that was real, if that was what the price actually was. Yeah, well, I said I don't need it that bad, you know. Um, but what what would have been the motivation to put that kind of a price on a product? So now the first thing that I'm thinking would be that that of taking advantage because of the distance that you might be from the closest town, which is about a half hour. Now, really, when you're like, depending on where you come from or whatever, I don't know. I'm trying to create a situation here where a person would pay that. One, I suppose we would be, is if a person was extremely wealthy, extremely rich, where $15 would just not, where you wouldn't think twice, uh, for the fact that it's $15 for a jug. What I'm what my point here is, it's now about 7 years since then, and we still buy it here in Ontario for usually it's around nearly $3 per jug, like a 4-liter jug kind of thing. And that's what that was too. But it's not that I dwell on it or anything like that, but I did some research, and I'm going to keep on doing research about this, for the simple reason is because I'm going to be doing a fairly long row of episodes on this about pricing things. Now, maybe if you're watching this video and you saw the headline, The Worth of Things, and if you are in business, like it's usually where that's where you have a lot to do with pricing in a store, or kind of a thing. Now, when you look at pricing things, one of the things that can drive a price way up is a good salesperson, or at least one that is good, one that knows how to manipulate and talk people into things that they could basically get for a lot cheaper. Over the years, I've had my own business for quite a number of years, and I had a home renovation business. But while I was doing the business, I never got big about it. I never had a plan to become very big, to grow a very big business. And now I could have, I suppose, to do that. I would have had to make some rather different decisions than I did about my business. But I was more the type where it was just me and then one helper. I had one person helping me, and we basically ran the business. I did all the selling and helped with the installations, and my helper, he would basically just help with the installations, and I'd pay him for his work, and that would be about the extent of my business, right? Well, while I was doing that, there were, periods of time where I didn't have work lined up. And then I would do, I had actually a few different companies where now and then I would do a subcontract for if I wasn't too busy, and, they'd call me up and see if I had time to do a job for them, kind of thing. Well, this one job that we were doing, we came to this house to do this job, and I, of course, as soon as I saw the contract, I noticed that this looks like a very small job, rather simple. If we get there, and it was a very simple job. It actually, I don't recall now whether it took us more than half a day or not. I'm not sure now, but it was literally such a simple job. And when we finished it up, I was telling my helper, I said, if You know, if we did this job, we could do that there same job, supplying the materials, of course, like we always did, and we could still come out on top with like $7,000 profit on a job that took us like I think it may have been a bit more than a half a day, but I don't think it was too much more than that. Now that was a subcontract, so for us, it was more like, I'm not sure if we cleared $1,000 on that job or not. It may have been. It may have been. I don't remember what my, what my charge for the job was, but I was thinking to myself, and I had this mindset that, these people, they're ripping people off. That was my idea. However, I have changed my mind about those kind of things. Thinking that someone else is dishonest, uh, that that kind of thinking will hurt the person that is thinking that. I'm saying this just because of how our mind works. If we feel that somebody else is ripping people off, then usually that kind of a feeling comes out of a deep down in the mind, there's this feeling of jealousy, there's this feeling of thinking that somebody else is not being honest, and so therefore uh, they're making their money dishonestly. They don't deserve that much money, the money that they're making. They don't deserve it, and therefore uh, what we're doing by that is we're stepping on the hose of our own success, so that the success can't flow to us, because we're cutting it off. We're cutting it off by by looking at someone else and saying, well, they're, you know, I'm not sure if that makes sense to you, but our mind, our thinking is a direct, uh, it is it paves the road for us, whether whether it's a road for success or whether it's for failure or whatever. But the thinking is what creates the future, what is going to happen. I know that most people do not think of it that way, but nonetheless, if you do your research, you will find not just research, but what I mean is interview people, and well, maybe that is a sort of research, but what we find at the root of of successful people versus unsuccessful versus all of this, right? Now, over the years, since I started studying how our mind works, and I know people kind of look down on that idea to think, well, study how our mind works. We think that we all know how our mind works. Well, unfortunately, we don't. Unfortunately, no, people don't know how their mind works. And I could tell you that if you go in town and you stand, you hear people talking anywhere, it you don't have to listen for even 30 seconds until you very easily realize that what they're talking, it has no thinking behind it. So what is the difference between just talking or actually thinking and then talking? Well, the difference is huge if you know what the difference is. But so then how do you price things? How do you price things in order to be as successful as you want to be, to become as successful as you want to be? Well, the question is, how successful do you want to be, or how do you define what that success is? How do you come to a conclusion what success really means? Well, I think uh, I think the way most people think of success is that if they make if they're busy and they turn a real good profit and they're able to hire more people and the profits accelerate and so they make even more, and blah blah blah, it grows. That is, I think, in most cases, the definition of success. In the meantime, uh, those people usually either themselves work so many hours that they can hardly take time for anything in life, for their children, for anything. Or in many cases, they have their they have hired people who play that role in practically giving their life for that, to make that business grow and to make it be as successful as they want it to be. Again, if you define success by how much the business accelerates and grows and so on. But now I have a question about all that then, because I read quite a bit, for this discussion or this live stream that I'm doing here. I did quite a bit of reading to see what comes up, what do people talk about around this subject, and there are places, of course, where you can get, where you can get information. And of course, if you want the real good information on how to really make headways, well, you can buy courses, you can purchase courses, and and then you can really enter that competitive arena of business. But one of the richest guys in the that are now the so-called elite multi-billionaire, Rockefeller, I guess was his name. He had said, John D. Rockefeller apparently had said that competition is evil. Don't you, in the business world, isn't it mostly about competition? Like, I mean, these guys, these people, they shop, they uh, they go into other people's stores with what they call I can't remember the name right now, but they have people who go shopping in in competition stores, just to spy on the pricing, to see what the prices are, so they can, to help them to do pricing in a way to try to draw more customers their way by perhaps having the prices a tiny bit cheaper, and items, on very common items, to try to draw customers away from the other stores, so that the and you see this in insurance companies a lot, where they they run ads that make it sound like they're the absolute cheapest place to buy insurance. Well, of course, people want to, especially when it comes to insurance, people want the cheapest they can possibly get, because insurance, seriously, you don't get anything for your money. It's the reason basically that most people even have insurance is just so that they can be legal on the road. That's really basically it. And now that in itself would again have another story, which I would have no trouble talking about. It being legal, being illegal to drive without insurance and all that kind of stuff, which I'm sure many people would not agree with me on my thinking on that stuff. But nonetheless, my ideas about those things are pretty, I think they have their roots pretty deep, which is very, it's not that I'm not open to hear what others would have to say or nothing like that. I gladly hear it. And my take on that is that whatever you feel comfortable with, just go ahead and run with that, because I'm not going to try to convince you that what you're doing is wrong. It's up to you. Yeah. So, but now, when it comes to determining the worth of something, so what do you use for a gauge to help you decide what something is worth? I got involved in cryptocurrency about, that would, right now, I think that would be just about 2 years ago. And in those 2 years, I can't really say for sure if I've actually made much money on these cryptocurrencies or not. I made quite a bit, and then I kind of lost it again, and then made some again, and stuff like that. And maybe all in all, I could say I've turned some profit. But for most of that time, well, no, I couldn't really say that. Maybe more so just in the beginning of it than later, because I had made a bunch. I had made around, I think it was around $30,000 or something in a 3 months period on this was Dash that I had bought. It it was fairly low when I bought it, and then I went way up. And so, but that depleted. It depleted and depleted, and I kept on thinking, it's going to go back up. Eventually it'll just go, and it didn't. It didn't. It just, and well, finally I made a decision. Okay, well, I waited long enough, so I made a decision. I sold it, and guess what happened? Yeah, exactly. That's what happened. It went back up after I sold. But it's not all bad. It's not all bad, because I ended up buying some TBC from selling that Dash. And that was in July of 2017 is when I bought some TBC. And then in December, well, November is when they started notifying everybody that the cookie rewards that they were going to run a cookie rewards redemption period during the month of December. And so at first I thought that that was only going to include the new people, just the ones that had joined, that were joining after they started introducing that. And so then, well, some of the earlier people had been asking about, well, why would these new people get cookies and the rest of us who had bought coin wouldn't? And of course, admin then replied and said, well, no, no, don't worry. This goes right back to the very first buyers. And well, that was kind of nice. I was really happy about that. I had purchased. It wasn't very much that I had purchased. At the time when I purchased, I'm just trying to think how much was a coin. It was, I think, a coin was around 400,000, something like that. Around 400,000, I think, is what TBC was per coin at the time. But through this cookie reward program, from the coin I had bought, I qualified for a few coins. And well, each coin, I mean, a few cookies. I qualified for a few cookies. So each cookie gave me one TBC coin. Well, all of a sudden, the math just worked out exponentially different than what I had been expecting, because I had because the coin was going up by on average about 3% per day since I had bought and then into November and so on. And then when I caught on that I actually qualified for some coins, I started doing the math and I started getting excited because this was going to make me literally a multimillionaire. And well, of course, that is exactly what happened. In the meantime, I was learning. I was doing a lot of learning because TBC is far more than just about making some quick money. That's actually not what it's about at all. Now, I know that to most people, that is about the only thing that would sound good, is to quickly make a bunch of money. But the money that you make with TBC, now that we're in the, that we're still in the wealth building stage, the money that you make is actually, well, how do I say it? I don't want to say insignificant, but it's only a very small part of what TBC is really about. And well, if it isn't just about money, then what is it, right? Because isn't everything in the world just about money? Isn't that about all? I mean, what does a person do? What is there that the average person does that isn't about money? There sure ain't much. I mean, of course, unless it's you rake your leaves or mow your lawn or something, you may take, that might not be about money necessarily, about making profits. But everywhere you turn, even when I did the research for, whether you call it research, but I read up on a bunch of things for this talk. Everywhere I turned, it was nothing but making profits. That's what it's all about, just to make profits. And my thinking has changed about that for a couple of reasons. First of all, uh, we can very easily get to a point where it's more about profits than it is about human relationships, or about joy, peace, and confidence, and love, and so on. It's very easy for us to, get caught up in where we where it's just all about money, all about profits, and we forget the priceless things that can't be bought with money. It's interesting how it is that it is so wonderful to have a lot of money, to be able to buy anything you want. But boy, there are some things that money just can't buy. And I think that is what people sometimes lose sight of. And indeed, with the kind of the propaganda that we hear on the news all the time, on the mainstream media, and of course in business, it's always about profits. It's always about working harder. A friend of mine, he has a couple of boys, and and I didn't realize when I was young. I came to Canada when I was young, and I got a job, and there was a couple of times where I quit a job, and I wasn't worried if I didn't have a job. If I didn't, you know, if I just didn't like my job, I quit it. I quit it, and then I'd find a new job. It was easy. It was very easy to find a job. Well, nowadays it's not that easy to find one, and not only that, but now it's so easy to get fired. People easily get fired from their job if they don't perform fast enough. Wow. Wow. See, that's what I mean. How much is it about profits? It's not about human relationships. It's not about enjoying the life. It's not at all. It's about profits. It's about turning a profit to be able to pay those bills, and still try to have a profit left over. That's what it's about. But now I would like to talk about something a little different. What if what if we change that? What if we change that entire picture? What if we would change it and have so much wealth that everybody could just live the life that they enjoyed? You see, I am a believer that we all love doing something. I really believe that. I think we all want to do something, and I think we all want to do something useful. Uh, I think that's in the nature of man, to do something useful for himself and for others. I think that's in our nature. Now, I think also that it has basically been trained out of us over the past uh, a couple of decades, especially since the education nowadays, what the education is all about, and the way the industry is, where it's all just about trying to make more profits, and all that those profits do is make the elite banksters wealthier, and the rest of us, we don't seem to get far with it, right? Well, I believe that in the next couple of years, things are going to change so much in the world that within a couple of years, I believe that most people First of all, let me say this. I believe that within a couple of years, poverty is going to be gone, is going to be gone from the earth. And we will be busy cleaning up this planet from all the hostility that has created it to be what it is now. The mess, all the garbage, all the and technology. I believe we're going to advance in technology so much that it's just going to really, really advance. That the cost of living, I believe, is going to become practically free, and I believe that people will locally have communities. People will build local communities where so that there isn't these mass food productions going on and it's shipped all over the world, and then we buy everything in packages, and then to create all this garbage. Because I believe what's going to happen is local communities are going to be built where people won't have to buy the milk in the store. They'll be able to have their own milk, or have milk, farmers that do the milking or whatever in areas where then the milk, where they, you can just go and buy the milk either at the farm, or they'll supply it to a local store where it's being purchased, that kind of thing. Cheese will be made locally, those kind of things. I believe that is the world that we're going to begin to see, so that we are not going to have to spend so much money in shipping that's now happening. And there's so much spent in shipping, and it's not because not being able to afford that's not what it's about. But look at the traffic jams. Look at what we have created, just because it has become illegal to have a local store, a local place where you can get your milk. The milk can't be supplied locally. No, 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 no. Everything has to be processed. And you know what? What the biggest problem with that is? The biggest problem with that processing is that the nutrients are being taken out, and artificial stuff is being put in for preserving. This is unhealthy stuff. So that, I believe, is the type of world we're going to begin to see a lot more over the coming years, where there's going to be much, much, much more freedom. People will have freedom to do what they want to do. And it won't have to be where you have to slave every day in order to make a living. One day's work will easily provide for the week, to live, to probably even pay for the expenses for a month. And now maybe you think that I'm a little bit cuckoo when I think like that, but I really believe that is the world that we're going to be creating, because there are quite a few of us that have quite a bit of TBC, and wow, as far as that goes, it's amazing what we're going to be creating for people, to give people more freedom. I tell you, it's wonderful to be alive in this time, because especially now that we get to begin to build up this rundown world, it's truly going to be exciting. Anyhow, with that said, I'm going to sign off for today, and of course I'll be on again tomorrow at 6. And meantime, I'm going to do some more research. I'm going to find some more information. I'm going to share some more, and also In the meantime, hey, if you haven't heard about TBC or you aren't sure about it, maybe you heard on, maybe you went and saw something on Facebook and whatever. Let me just encourage you to check it out for yourself. Check it out for yourself. And you can do that with the links that are included in the description under this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow at 6. Peace. Oh, cryptotbc.com. Do subscribe, please, and click the like button.